Hi there, gang. Steve Jensen, Dr. J from the National Sales Academy and Impact Training Corporation. Hope these are great. Just grabbing my trusty pen because what I want to do today is to give you a little bit of a, let's say, stop and breathe and take a bit of a deep breath. Isn't it interesting? We're always looking for new things to do all the time. What's the edge? What's the new thing? And sometimes, and most of the time, it's always a good idea to stop and go back to basics and make sure that we're doing all of the fundamentals correctly. If you're in sales, you know what I mean. How many times have we got a process and it's all about the process and the delivery of the process, but trust the process and the outcomes take place. If you don't have a clean process or you've tried to hybrid it too much, what will happen is your closing rates or your success rates will plummet. More often than not, when I go into business all around the world, one of the things that we do quite regularly with the most successful businesses and sales professionals that I work with is that we stop, we breathe, and we go back to basics. I've got businesses that actually insist on it at least 2 or 3 times a year, in some cases 2 months in a row. I remember one sales manager saying, hey, look, that was an awesome session last time. The guys got so much out of it, they want to do it again. Because isn't it interesting, when you do the basics, we only learn a certain number of things in the basics. And then we'll say, yeah, that's easy to do, and they do it. But it's like an onion. There's layers. And isn't it interesting when you go back to doing the basics, and oh, that's new, Dr. J. And I said, no, we presented it last time, but they weren't ready to hear it. So many times I said, oh, that's a great new strategy. But it was a strategy that was in the initial part of their training. But guess what? They've now used some of the things and now they're ready to hear the other things, because we can only take in a certain amount of stuff. We can't cram in too much too soon. So it is recommended that whatever your processes are, stop, breathe, and make sure we say, let's go back to the basics. Let's go back to the meet and greet. What do we do? Where do we sit? How do we do our qualification? Just the simple things done really well. How do I do our explanation or our demonstration? Are there certain questions we should be asking on your sheet? You just stop trying to winging it and doing it more. It's my way. Heard that so many times. We take this wonderful process, which is a square, and we take off the edges, and then it becomes a circle, and all of a sudden it becomes a spiral, and we spiral down. Most sales professionals do it. So if you've done it, I've done it, we've all done it. But our job in our training with the National Sales Academy and Impact Training and the Sales Authority Club is to put those edges back on. Sure, we're continually modifying things. Sure, we're streamlining and shortening the sales cycle and coming up with new ways of doing things. And it's important to upgrade. There's no question about it. But, and there's a big but here, it's always a good idea to go back to basics. I strongly recommend it. We do it regularly in our company. And with all the successful businesses I work with, go back to basics. Stop looking for new stuff all the time. Go right through from that initial contact to qualification, your explanation, demonstration. How do you present your prices? Are you test closing? Are you asking correctly? Are your price sequences correct? Now, by going back to basics, you can always find, oh, gee, we could upgrade that a little bit. And that's where the new stuff comes in. Going back to basics, I believe, is a wonderful way of keeping things on the straight and narrow. Always finds ways to actually upgrade the old ways. Oh, gee, that's dated, we need to fix it. But let me promise you something. Doing the basics and the simple things well, following your process, will more than likely make sure that you have the success that you're looking for. The recommendation, going back to basics twice a year as a minimum. And if you don't, and always looking for new things to do, those basic things, the skill sets that made you successful, the fundamentals of going through and making sure, let's say you have a good meet and greet, and make sure you're sitting next to the person, not trying to get straight into your presentation where we get a little bit, oh, I've done it 4 million times, I can fast track this a little bit. I've heard that a million times. I don't need to use my script or my prompt. Prompt's better, not a script. I know it by heart. No, go back to basics. Ask the right questions. Listen. Slow down. Simple things. Ask for the money. And shut up. Using a piece of paper or using your price presentation, using an alternative choice, or whether you do assumptive close, go back to basics. Oh, I don't need to do that. And all of a sudden the close rate plummets. I believe that less is best when it comes down to training. And a lot of people say, oh, we want to do this and this and this in training. And for those who've worked with me for many years, I'll say, oh my goodness, we can certainly present it, but no one will learn it. So if you're doing training with your team, or you're training with us, you'll find that we find a few things that they're going to do, make sure there's a lot of practice, drill, rehearse. So we create the neural pathway so they can actually do it. Less is best. And then make sure it's utilized and implemented. Inspect what you expect and role play. Go back to basics. Role play, practice. The things that you all know. So I'll ask you to do a little exercise for me after this. Write down your fundamentals and see maybe where some of them are being left out. And let's say, hey, let's go back to basics. Let's start our practice in the morning. Let's make sure we use these tools. Let's make sure we're sitting down. Let's do our practice. Let's do our inspection. Let's just check our price presentation and go back to basics and see what happens. If it needs to be upgraded, perfect. Let us know. We can help you streamline it, no problem. Kick some goals, go back to basics twice a year, and I'm sure you'll have success. I'm Dr. J, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.